I want to tell you a story about one autumn when I was invited to southern France to spend just over 2 weeks high up in the mountains with a group of elite runners. Not just to occasionally be around them, but to actually live, eat, and even train with them. This gave me a unique opportunity to witness up close what the lifestyles of some of the best runners in the world actually look like. From a total of 357 hours in the company of these remarkable athletes, I was able to construct 4 key concepts that I took away from the experience to not only help my own running, but to share with runners of all abilities who may well benefit from witnessing the daily habits of runners at this level. This video will focus on 3 specific athletes in the mountains with me during our time there. Simon Bédard, a French professional runner. Simon took the gold medal in the 5,000 at the World University Games. Marie Perrier, an elite runner from Mauritius. Marie ran in the marathon at the Olympics. Louise Small, known to many as GB Louise, has represented Great Britain 13 times and recently ran inside 2 hours 30 for the marathon. And on top of this, at the end I'll give you one common misconception about elite runners. When I tell you, it might just change the way you think. I'm Harry Morgan, and this is Jog On. Beginning our time in the mountains, we drove to a popular running spot at a lake where athletes prepared for their various sessions. From the outset, one thing became obvious: the sheer volume of running these guys were taking on. To put it into numbers, during my time there, I was looking to cover around 35 miles or 56 kilometers each week. For comparison, in her second week out there, GB Louise covered a total of 89 miles. That's 143 kilometers. But even this looked smaller next to the numbers some of the other runners were putting up. Often north of 110 miles, 177 kilometers, a huge volume of running. Having just finished his run, the 10K British record holder, Rory Leonard, sat in the morning sunshine. GB Louise completed a brief interview.
It's a very good question.
And it was back in the car as I drove Rory and some others through the sunny French scenery. One way in which the athletes were able to get this volume in was by employing doubles, running twice in a day. From the lake to the track, Rory and Simon settled into their afternoon track session in the wind and the rain as I watched on in the Jog On hoodie, admiring the fortitude on display.
This particular group that's just gone past, it's their second session of the day. The commitment of these guys is just amazing to see.
While by no means should any runner attempt to start covering such massive weekly distances, there is a clear example here of what might be achievable if one is to begin asking themselves if they could set a target of slowly building up their running volume. It's likely no coincidence that since gradually increasing my quantity of running each week, it's made a huge difference to my times in races, and the elites I've been around have been a fundamental source of inspiration for this. As a rainstorm crashed into the windows, outside flashes of white lightning mixed with deep booming thunder, and we tried to get some sleep. In stark contrast, the next morning was blue skies as I headed out for an altitude easy run in my somewhat uncool waist bag that made me look like a tourist who'd got lost on their way to the bakery. Importantly, something I witnessed firsthand while in the mountains was the remarkable intention and purpose with which the runners approached their training. Runs were thought out. For example, Marie and Louise knew what pace they were doing for any given run, how far they were going, how long that would take them, the rough time of day they would start, and even down to what running shoes they would wear. The most obvious difference between Marie, Louise, and me was their ability to hold a casual conversation with a lower percentage of available oxygen. Marie finished the run with a few 30-second strides. This specificity and detail was even more clearly demonstrated by Simon. Preparing for one of his road sessions, Simon would perform a series of drills, hydrate, head off for a light jog at a pace faster than most people's 5k PB, conduct more drills, move into strides, change his shoes, and carefully lace up a new pair. Start to remove layers, put on his headband, take a gel, do watch and GPS checks, then into leg swings, run more strides now at a blistering pace, and then finally, Simon's session began with bike support. As I watched on, it was hard to ignore the sheer level of attention that elite runners like Simon pay to their training to absolutely maximize the quality quality of each and every session they take on. Later that day, the fueling company Precision Hydration flew out to conduct sweat tests. A patch is placed on the arm of a runner to make them produce sweat, and then the level of sodium released is measured. This information can be used by the athlete to make decisions about levels of electrolyte intake when training in the future. British 3000 steeplechase champion Mark Pearce joined for the sweat test, a man who's previously been in 2 Jog On videos, the combined views of which have received 1.6 million views at the time of recording. So here's hoping his appearance helps this video. I joined Mark and found out that the level of salt released in my sweat is below the average, which would be a slightly weird boast at a dinner party. These finer details are all part of the incredible intention the highest level runners bring to their training. For the past few years now, Jog On has produced a series of high quality training plans that reflect this structure and detail. They've taken many runners on a journey to improving at every distance from 5k up to the marathon, and can be found at thisisjogon.com. So much attention can be paid to different areas of our running, all with the aim of trying to be that bit better. Thankfully, calmer evenings followed, and I looked out from the balcony at sunset with a sliver of moon showing through. The following days saw multiple examples of an area the athletes took very seriously: recovery. The ice bath near the track was a common tool for recovery. Though extremely uncomfortable to enter, many runners would use it. One evening, I joined Simon and asked him about his experiences with using the cold for his recovery.
I try to do it like, let's say, 2 or 3 times a week.
Do you enjoy it at all, the recovery element, or is it just painful?
It's painful. It's only painful the first 2 minutes, and after you don't feel it anymore. So I could say 20 minutes, I don't feel my legs anymore.
Do you feel that you get a benefit from it?
Yeah. Especially I do to recover from a big session, or to do it the day before a big session. I think it's good.
Of course, I had to have a go.
I can tell you, it's freezing.
Interestingly, I found that this was the one thing I was a little better at, likely due to having a body fat percentage closer to that of a medium-sized pork pie.
I'm an elite now.
Some of Marie's recovery was spent in compression boots, and while there is a mixed consensus on the effectiveness of this tool, Marie herself said it gave her a strong psychological benefit. Runners ate well during recovery, and there was also regular massage with a highly skilled physio, Adrien. Simon, of course, was incredibly used to this and barely changed his expression, and then I was booked in. Following multiple days at this point of beating up the legs in the mountains chasing after elite runners, I wasn't quite so good at keeping my composure. A clearly useful element of the elite runners' training in the mountains was running together for a significant proportion of the week. Group running was invaluable to achieving both the specificity of certain training and the volume of kilometers being covered on foot. Towards the end of my stay, I joined one of these groups, consisting almost entirely of national level runners. For context, this was their Sunday easy run. We were covering 10 miles, that's 16.1 kilometers, and our average pace was 4:29. That's 22:25 for every 5k, and all this with uphill trail, reduced oxygen intake,
Well, that gets your breath.
and at the end of a hard week. Somehow I was able to stay with them and was grateful when we returned to tarmac underfoot.
Back on the road. That's 14k. Looking good. This is pretty nice. Pretty cool.
Crossing a dam, the group picked the pace up some more and we ripped past the starting point, reaching the 16.1 mark in a supposedly easy 1 hour 15 minutes.
Been a pleasure, guys. Cheers, Harry. Have a good one. See you, Neve. See you in about 1 hour 15 minutes, just over 10 miles.
For many of the lunches, groups would also eat together, discussing training and planning the runs ahead. My next group run was a foggy morning on the track, where I'd be joining the 2023 National Cross Country Champion, Sarah Astin, for one of her sessions. Just as with the calculated intention of so many elites, Sarah meticulously completed a set of drills.
How are you feeling this morning?
Good.
Before delayering and getting in some fast strides. The group then began their reps of 5 by 2 kilometers. Marie was also in her own track session. I wouldn't join the group until partway through, quite simply because the standard was just so high. For reference, my 5k time of 17:42 is a long way off Sarah's best 5,000 on the track of 15:36, and so this meant I'd just about be able to jump in for a few laps. I cheered them and Marie on, and then the morning transformed. The fog lifted just in time as I joined the group. The pace was serious. Over the course of the session, the group moved from 350s down to around 320 kilometers. 3 3:20 pace is 16:40 for a 5k, or as Sarah might call it, a warm-up. Importantly, it was the combined efforts of the runners in that session helping Sarah hit her times that allows a run like that to take place. Something that would be far more difficult physically and psychologically for any one person to attempt solo. I found that it's important to never forget the power of running as a group. The penultimate day of my time in France saw Simon, Marie and GB Louise taking on a fast road session. This got me thinking about one element of running at these levels which can often get misjudged. While some of the best runners are able to train full-time, many at the top level often work full-time jobs while juggling their training.
Great stuff, guys.
It's hard to imagine how one person can fit everything in, but in my experience of being up close to these elite runners and watching what they do, there is one clear answer. They are willing to make sacrifices. This can come in the form of missing out on entertainment or social events. No matter what, the running is prioritized. These sacrifices allow the time to train. It's amazing how when a person is truly dedicated and passionate about something, they will find the time.
I'm going to make an attempt to run with them for a moment. Something tells me this might be quite fast.
Many of us make excuses, but the reality is, if we truly want to get better, we can fit so much more in by really applying ourselves to improving volume, intention, recovery, and finding groups who share these goals.
Downhill, downhill. Olympian Marie Perrier.
In this, we can decide to what degree we are willing to commit to the practice of running. So, go for that run. I'm Harry Morgan, and this is Jog On.